In this lesson, we are going to learn how to create a new Fireworks file, bring in raster graphics, and edit those graphics. The file that I have open now is from the previous lesson. We should actually start from a brand new file, so let's create one. Let's go over to the File menu and select New. Control N because I'm on a PC, Command N on a Mac. We are going to set up a new document, and 600 by 600 is in my height and width field, so I think I'll leave that. The rest of these I'll leave the defaults, and we'll notice here that we have a canvas color of white. That'll be fine. And now let's click OK. Now we have an untitled Fireworks file within a file extension of PNG. Don't be confused by the graphic type PNG. That's a different thing. Let's go ahead and save this file. Let's go to File and go to Save As. And in your Chapter 7 folder, let's name this guy Raster. And the default file extension is PNG. That's great. Let's click Save. So what we have now is a big canvas, and we want to add some graphics to our canvas. So just for good measure, I think I'm going to go here and select the pointer tool, and then I'm going to go to File and Import. A shortcut that we'll use for the rest of this video is Control R or Command R on a Mac. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that, and then we can find an image that we'd like to bring in. Well, if you look down this list, and by the way, the images that we're working with are also in the Chapter 7 folder. We have a few images here, and if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see a picture of this little cute dog, but he's turned sideways. That's okay, we can fix that. Let's click Open. Now, when you do that, nothing happens automatically, but Fireworks is expecting you to do one of two things. If you click one time, the image is going to come in at full scale. That means if that is a really big, huge image, which it is, it's going to be way too big. Otherwise, you can simply click and drag, and your image will come in at the size you determine that it should come in at. Now, this guy does need to be rotated. There are rotate tools, but here's a great shortcut that I like to do. With the image selected, if you could right-click and go to Transform, there's a choice here to rotate your image clockwise 90 degrees. So let's choose that. Alright, and there he is. Very good. Now, a great shortcut to duplicate any object, if you need a duplicate of this guy, would be to hold down your Alt key or Option on a Mac and drag. And as you can see, you can duplicate any object that you have on your screen very easily by Alt dragging. Alright, well, now we have two images, and I'd like for you to look over in the Layers panel. Now, if your Layers panel isn't open, you can go up to the Window menu and find it and open it. But if your Layers panel is open, you're going to see that every object, in this case, even though it's the same thing, they are on their own layers. Alright, well, let's bring in another image. This time, Control R is the shortcut that we'll use, and we are going to see a lizard. Let's grab the lizard and let's click Open. Alright, and once again, we will click and drag to bring in our lizard. Now, the lizard is stacked on top of the other images because it is higher up in the stacking order in the Layers panel. If you needed to change that, you could simply select the object that you wanted to be lower in the stacking order and move it down, and then it would be below the other image. So changing the stacking order is just like Photoshop. Click on the thumbnail image and drag up to reorder. Well, now that we have a few images, what can we do to those? Well, if you look over in the Tools panel, you're going to see some tools here that deal specifically with bitmap objects. Now, you might hear raster, bitmap, JPEG, pixels. All of that means the same thing. It is basically a pixel-based image that is not made up of vector. You might recall that Adobe Illustrator and InDesign are vector-based programs. Fireworks deals with both bitmaps, which you could create in Photoshop, and vectors. Okay? All of these guys are actually pixels. So if we wanted to adjust one of these, we could use any of the tools found here in the bitmap section. I'm going to go right down here and grab the Dodge tool. Now, the Dodge tool by default lightens things, right? So if I want to lighten the little dog's eyes, I could use this tool. Before you use any tool, you should probably check the settings. Since we're in Fireworks, we're going to look down at the Properties panel. If you were in Photoshop or Illustrator, you'd look up at the Control panel. But Fireworks is like Dreamweaver, and the settings are right down here in the Properties panel. And you can choose a nice soft edge. It doesn't really matter so much about the size. Maybe go with a larger size. and we'll work with the midtones. Now I'm going to just click a couple of times right around his eyes just to see if I can lighten his eyes up just a little bit, maybe his little nose. Okay, so you can see, let's just maybe grab lighten some of the leaves up back there just a little tiny bit, and you can see that we're actually changing the pixels of that object. Very nice. Well, let's talk about this dog here. He seems a little dark. Using this tool that we've been using, that's just going to change selected pixels. This time, let's grab the image and let's see if we can't lighten the whole thing. Instead of using the tools, we are going to look down here in the Properties panel and notice that we have some filters. Let's click the little plus sign and then let's go to Adjust Color, and this is where we'll find the Curves command. I'll slide this dialog box over. I believe the Curves command is going to work great for lightening our image. What we'll do is click right here on this curve. It looks like a straight line, but it's called a curve, right? Let's pull this guy up, maybe put another point here, and as we pull this slider up, you'll be able to see parts of your image getting lighter and lighter, okay? Now, if you ever decide you made a mess or you don't like what you're doing, one thing that you can do before you decide for sure to commit is turn on and off the preview button. If you go too far, you can always just hit cancel and try that again. Again, go to Filter, Adjust Color, and Curves. And I think this time, instead of me making adjustments, which I could do, I'll want to see what Auto does. So let me click Auto, and let's try that again. I'm just going to pull this up, and our image is going to get lighter. Okay, we turn off the preview. That's what we had. This is what we have now, and we're okay with that for now. All right, very nice. Well, the lizard, we could do anything to him that we wanted to. One thing that's very common is to create a mask and actually hide part of this guy. Fireworks makes it extremely easy to blur the edges of a selected graphic. Let's check it out. Make sure that your lizard is selected. Let's go to the Commands menu. Go down to Creative, and hidden deep in this menu is something called Auto Vector Mask. Kind of an obscure name, but it's a very cool command. Let's move this guy out of the way, and then you simply select the vector mask that you would like to apply. So right here, I think I'm going to go with this one in the top right corner and click Apply. And just like that, I have a nice mask on the lizard. Now, if you're wondering if you can adjust the mask, you absolutely can. You can use these sliders here to adjust the mask, and you could even delete it if you wanted to. And you would do that by looking over in the layers, and you're going to see that we have a layer mask right here that can be disabled or deleted if you happen to not want it later. Well, we're pretty happy with what we have now, so let's save our file, and in the next lesson we are going to learn how to bring in and manipulate vector objects. See you then.